And honestly, this is going to be a close race. These runners are only about 5 minutes apart PB-wise. I mean, a few bad deaths, and that could be the difference. So here we are. This tutorial level, this prologue, introduces us to the basic movement, which is just walking, running, and jumping. And you're going to see here that hopping is just a little bit faster than pure walking, but you got to be careful not to fall into that pit. That is not a uncommon thing to happen. Prologue death is a thing. You fall back to the start of the screen anytime you die and have to restart said screen. Yeah, see that Salad is just a little bit ahead. Now, because of this game is ran on multiple platforms, one of the things is that this game is ran in-game time, which may drift over time, but all that matters is their finish time in-game, based on the top of the screen. And so here we are. We now have the dash, which has a lot of properties, and we're seeing them right away. First off, you can dash into walls to basically transfer your momentum by bouncing off them. That's called a wall bounce. On top of that, this level's focus is using momentum, by teaching you how to use momentum. Basically, if a thing moves Celeste, or sorry, if anything moves Madeline in any direction, that is going to add to her speed. Speed is transferable between objects in this game, and to the point where you can actually lose speed if you hit if you hit objects the wrong way. The name for that I cannot say. Now, the main technique that you're going to see these runners use throughout the run is called a jump dash and hyper dashes. Basically, when you dash into the ground and then immediately jump out of them, you are able to basically extend your dash distance, and if you do it right, you will actually keep your dash. Now here we're seeing a very advanced technique from iSalad, and that's called a neutral jump. Normally when you jump off, when you're climbing on walls, you have a limited stamina bar, but if you jump off of a wall and then basically hammer the directional inputs away from the wall, you will not lose stamina, but you will be able to gain distance on the wall, and that's used to skip a large portion of that screen. And yeah, with that is chapter 1 already done. It goes by so fast, I barely had enough time to get through all of the techniques used there. Now, here is some people's favorite chapter, chapter 2, where we are going to be introduced to a mechanic called dream blocks. There's also another mechanic taught in this, but only in when you're collecting berries. There's actually a small exploit of the code. Cutscenes store your Z-axis, or sorry, your Y-axis, and so if you start that cutscene in the air by the dream block, you'll actually end the cutscene like right below the dream block and able to dash straight up. It's just a little bit faster. And now dream blocks are interesting in that when you dash them, you will end up on the other end in whatever direction you go in, and you can see that here. Now you can also jump off of dream blocks, basically wall jump off of them to extend the dash. Ooh, going for a really fast movement through that room from one random Paul, but unfortunately not getting it, and hitting the wall. You do crush into walls if that happens. And now we're starting the battle line chase on both sides. Battle line is your foe throughout the run, and in this portion, she is chasing you. She will always be 3 seconds behind your movement, and so you have to basically adjust your movement so that you don't get hit by them. Now there's a little dev shortcut here patched into the game, makes this run a little bit faster. I believe it was very, very interesting way through this room from iSalad. Not the traditional way. Ooh, and unfortunately, taking a hit at the end of the one block run. Those are called key blocks. They basically have key switches that you have to hit. You'll see that they have to hit all of them on the screen to move a block. Now, on iSalad's side, very interesting. This is actually the most technically demanding portion of the run, at least according to a lot of runners. It's basically just how fast can you move alongside essentially a vertical plane. Very interesting section, and it can be done extremely quickly. The upper limits of moving through that screen is very fast. Anytime you have extended vertical, like sections, you can gain a lot of momentum with perfect movement. And now we're in a lot of people. We go from a lot of people's favorite chapter to a lot of people's least favorite chapter. We're introduced to Chapter 3's Dust Bunnies, which are cycle-based enemies in the game. Basically, they will move at a set angle. There's no RNG in this game, so whenever you enter the room, they start moving. They'll always start in the same spot. But if you die, they'll start in a slightly different spot and move in a. So the cycle is slightly different. We're also introduced to keys in this chapter, which are used to open doors. So you have to carry a key. Keys transfer through death, unlike the berries that you can collect during a casual playthrough or a completionist playthrough. So we will actually see a few intentional resets to save time. And those will actually count towards deaths. I believe that there are 2 intentional resets routed into the run. So if you're ever looking for a runner's actual death count, it is they're shown death count -2 because 2 of those are resets. Now, one thing I haven't noticed, and you may have seen, hey, these guys are cheaters. They're jumping off of spikes. Well, actually, they're not cheating. They're just controlling their momentum in a very specific way. So essentially, in Celeste, unless you are actually moving into a spike, the spike will not kill you. And how that will be shown is that you can actually jump off of these blocks. And you'll see that throughout the run that they will basically jump off of blocks. That's why you're able to go through them. Because it's only if you are landing into them that you die. So you can actually jump off them. You'll see this a lot in Chapter 4, or Chapter 6. 5 and 6 have them a lot. Actually, pretty much every chapter after this abuses spike jumping. Another interesting thing that we saw earlier in this chapter that I forgot to point out, because again, the game's got a lot of stuff going on, is whenever you enter a room, you gain your dash back, even if you're in midair. And we're seeing a slightly different way through that room by iSalad. That's a safer method. Now, this section that they're in is called Bid Mess. So essentially, the Oshiro, who is the guy that we've been talking to throughout the run, or throughout this chapter, he has a very messy resort, and he's trying to clean it up. But you basically kind of help him because you're a very, very nice person, and you take people's burdens onto yourself. So you are trying to help him out before you continue your climb up Mount Celeste. And we're seeing a lot of usage of spike jumps here. And one thing you gotta be very careful of in this game is not resetting during a cutscene. Retry and skip cutscene are in the same position on the menu. So it looks like so iSolid is actually on the third and final part of it. Actually, they're both on the third and final part of Bid Mess. iSolid having a little bit of trouble with parts of it. Again, if you don't have like the same movement every time, this chapter is very difficult. The reason being is that if your movement is off, then you have a problem. I'm not sure if Paul is on keyboard. He might be. There's a mix. Most people run keyboard in this game, but there are a few top runners who do run keyboard. It is not that bad. This game is really good, and that's very accessible control-wise and console-wise. It's on like a bunch of systems right now, including the Switch. Unfortunately, onerandompaul having an issue with the elevator shaft here. Actually, pretty difficult screen. Like I found casually. I think I died a few times in that screen. Surprisingly, it doesn't look hard, but this game actually, like every screen is a little bit of a challenge, unless it's like obviously not meant to be. But like this game is just like one of the best platformers made in a very long time. Oh, interesting. Those crystals don't just refresh their dash. They also refresh your stamina climbing, so that's a very interesting part. Ooh, unfortunate death there. Again, you're going to see that now the cycles are a little bit off, so you've got to delay your jump here because that guy is going to be in that spot where your dash would normally land you. And there's that intentional reset. You see that on one random pulse screen. And on iSolid, he is now in the Oshiro fight. The one random Paul's escape through the top floor of the hotel is unfortunately not going as well as his bid mess. And it looks like Oshiro is giving iSolid a little bit of trouble. Oshiro is actually really difficult casually. He is going to track you on the other side of the screen and then charge at you after a set amount of time. Now, the other thing that kind of can mess you up is that when he's really close to you, time slows down a bit and gives you a chance to kind of bop him on the head. You can use him to recharge your dash. It's actually required for a berry later on. And we now have one random Paul in the Oshiro fight, and it is going a lot better. Now, keep in mind, like, a lot of people submitted their PBs and then continue to grind this game a lot. So just because you see a 5-minute difference, there is not that hard to put in some time into this game. Every time you practice, you are going to get better at this game. And I know that sounds silly, but because the game has no RNG, it really does feel like your practice pays off more in this game than any other game. Like, there is no enemy RNG in this game. There is no, like, you just get better. And now both runners, so I saw it. Oh, I didn't see if he did late skip, but there's a skip here that you can do called late skip. It saves about 4 seconds if done the first try. Oh no, this isn't late skip. I'm silly. Never mind, ignore me. We're not at late skip yet. That's like 2 chapters from now. I saw it going over instead of under. Okay, so we are flying through here. This is there's a lot of auto scrollers here, and it looks like, but most of them can be skipped if you know what you're doing. I saw taking a little bit of a safer path through here. I'm wondering if he's doing that because he has the better PB, so he's feeling a little bit more confident versus one random Paul than he would be maybe against somebody else. I'm not sure. I saw water in a mountainous level, and my brain was like, late skip. I'm like, no, no. Ooh, I saw losing his dash at a really weird time. Or possibly just like the wind messing him up. I forgot to mention the wind is a mechanic in this level. Again, so much going on. Plus, I want to make sure that I'm keeping up with the runners. Wind in this level messes with your momentum. Remember when I said that momentum is really important in Celeste? It really, like, you'll see, like, when you do those super dashes and hyper dashes throughout, you're actually just going so much faster that the wind doesn't really affect you. And these bots, again, like, normally they are auto scrollers, but we're seeing here that these runners are basically skipping them. Oh, that was really neat. That was spooky. He like dashed. I thought he was gonna hit those spikes there, but he did not. Oh, unfortunate. Dying at the very end there with a little bit. I think he kind of like expected the wind, but the wind dies down when you hit that point. If you're moving properly. But again, there's no RNG. The wind is always gonna move at the same. Oh, taking an alternative? No. I sell it. Oh, reset in the room there. Yeah, so rooms have a set reset point. If you enter a secret area, go back and then die, you'll just be back at the start of the room. And here's harsh winds. This is like the final section. The wind is now, or I don't know if we're at harsh wind just yet, but we're getting there. there's going to be a point where the wind will essentially be moving at such a point that you can't actually move forward more than like a pixel. And actually, our runners are really, really close. Onerandompaul has made up a lot of distance here. He's going for the time save here. It's very minor, but he does get it. But yeah, harsh winds is very difficult. You can't move forward by moving. You have to dash to make any distance through harsh winds. And on top of that, there are snowballs that can hit you throughout this level. It's kind of like Oshiro, but with less warning, but a little bit slower. But yeah, you'll see here, like, thanks to Hyperin, though, we can go really far. And now this is reverse harsh wind, where the wind is now moving with you, and you have to use it to get through the level. And here we go. Salad is at the end now. Onerandompaul almost at reverse harsh wind. Again, harsh winds is a really difficult section of the game because it completely messes. Like, it's just different physics essentially. Okay, now into Mirror Temple, a very interesting section of the game. It's a little bit more open of an area than previous areas. The rooms are bigger. The rooms have a lot of secrets to them. There's a few intentional and unintentional shortcuts throughout this level. It's kind of structured a little bit like a Metroidvania in a way, like a classic Castlevania, with multiple different paths and secrets strewn throughout. We'll be seeing one intended and one unintended skip that's going to save a lot of time. This kind of also is the chapter that has like the only, I would call, quote-unquote required trick to learn the speedrun. Because of just the massive amount of time it saves, there's going to be a skip later that if you're going to learn this game, you learn that trick first and then just kind of let the movement control, like, bring you through everything else. I saw having a little bit of issue with that block there, and Onerandompaul is making his way through the entrance of Mirror Temple. One thing you're also going to notice throughout this level is that's just going to get progressively stranger in look. This is an intended skip. This is called key skip. It is completely intended by the developers for you to do that. But yeah, as we move forward, we're going to see that there's like weird statues throughout. It's getting darker. And here's a giant mirror. Mirrors play a very important role in this game's plot. This game's plot is very good. And it's just like there's no way to give it justice. So we as commenters try to avoid, talking. And there we go. You get to play as the Seeker, which are now going to be enemies. So you wake up Celeste by hitting her. And unfortunate retry. Retrying at the start of a cutscene. I mentioned that earlier that you can retry in a cutscene, and that will happen. Now we are moving through. I also didn't mention those blocks that move. They are controlled by whenever you dash, they will move. So you have to keep control of that. Also, I think I've called Madeline Celeste a few times. To be fair, that is what I called my file, so... Also, the Seekers can hit the key switches, which is very interesting. You'll see runners use this throughout to save little bits of time here and there. If you hit a Seeker, also, they like bop and they look really cute when you hit them. They're very sad. They just want to be your friend. Yeah, you see here that he hung up on that ceiling so that the Seeker would chase him. And he bopped it there, so it's going to wake up and then hit that key. And that's such you just save him a little bit of time, although the Seeker is giving him trouble. Whoop. And wow, they are very close, honestly. Both in the same section. Okay. Ooh. Trying to get through here. And okay, now here's the real creepy part. So this is where we get Theo as a crystal. He's basically stuck. He doesn't know how or why. We have to hit buttons, or he has to hit buttons for us. Whenever you move with him, you move very slowly, but when you pick him up in midair, you kind of carry your momentum. So you actually move faster with him in theory. But you actually can't. But in theory you can. If you had tools to assist you, you totally could. Oh! Oh! That was really close. That's Seeker playing goalie with Theo. Also, in theory, you can skip spike walls thanks to Theo. Theo's really helpful, as it turns out. But yeah, the movement with him is very difficult. And we have both runners in the Theo section. Like, this is a very close. Whoa! Trying to like use Theo as a weapon against the Seeker. Unfortunately, it did not work. And in this room, these waves that periodically hit you can really mess you up. But gets through it fine. Does not get the reset this time. Skips the cutscene. Okay, and gets that room and just wanting the Seeker to get out of his way. Unfortunately, you do have to use Theo. You have to use Theo to get through that room. Unfortunately, doesn't get the optimal way. And now we are in Reflection, which is chapter 6. There are no interesting fact, there's no berries in this level. There's a very good reason why, story-wise. Now, we are not going to see late skip for my salad. But we do get our introduction to Kevin blocks, or Crush blocks. If named after Kevin from Power Up Audio, who created the noise from those blocks. Shoutouts to Kevin. Shoutouts to Power Up Audio. They've made the audio for a lot of good indie games. So we are seeing wonderful late skip from One Random Paul. I still play very carefully. Really just going for things it seems that he feels like he can guarantee get. One Random Paul's movement, definitely keyboard-like. It is really hard to use those without analog. And it looks like... Whoa! Oh, he had it! Oh, and he only went for once. He was so close. Oh, no. I was so excited. That was so hype. Oh, unfortunately, having a little bit of issues with Chapter 6. Again, these feathers, if used on keyboard, are very difficult to use. Because they don't move, in directionals. They have to do, the full turn, so they're a little awkward. I played this game with D-pad the entire time, so when I got to those, it was actually a little hard. But here we are, we're seeing... Also, man, there are a lot of things I missed. It's really hard to catch everything by yourself. But we are seeing here that on top of the crush blocks and the golden feathers, we are also seeing bumper blocks, which if you hit them, they'll basically bounce you away from them in whatever direction you hit them in. Yeah, it looks like onerandompaul is having a little bit of issues with reflection. I would be curious to ask him if this is his worst chapter. Because he seems to have he was like neck and neck with iSolid, honestly. Keeping pace with him the whole time. Now we're gonna see a really cool thing here. Like, speaking of momentum, this is how you can keep momentum in Celeste. Oh, iSolid getting caught by the corner there, unfortunately. Now here's the battle line fight. Oh, death in the first screen of battle line. The battle line fight, you have to hit battle line a lot, like a lot. And it will always basically kind of rewind you every time. It's sort of like a reverse of the Chapter 2 fight, in that you are now chasing battle line. I always found that cool. Battle line is trying to attack you, but we're very, very fast. You're going to see that these runners are always going to try to get back to the ground as quickly as possible after a reverse, because the movement in Celeste is essentially all on the ground, or at least, the very least, utilizes walls and floors, and doesn't really actually utilize the air, although the air dashes are obviously used to propel us through the air. Pretty much all the tricks in Celeste to go faster require you to be on the ground, or near the ground, or against a wall. Ooh, unfortunate death there. And onerandompaul making his way to the battle line fight. Ooh, gotta be careful. Oh! Yeah, again, with keyboard, this chapter is really hard, because these things are not good with digital movement. The feathers are really hard. And this is phase 2, where battle line is basically moving these blocks around, and you're going to now use the blocks to get to her faster. She's not very good at this whole villain thing. Which actually makes sense in the in the game itself. This game is very good, by the way. I just want to point out. Also, the music in this section is amazing. Facing oneself is a really good section of the game. Also, I always really like this section with the golden feather. And now here we are. So we have officially leveled up after the battle line fight. We can dash twice. Now, this is going to be basically required for the rest of the game. The entire rest of the game is Chapter 7, and obviously it's the little end of Chapter 6. But Chapter 7 is all of the chapters together in one. Essentially, what we are going to see here is that we are going to be climbing back up the mountain in order from Chapter 6 to Chapter 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because Chapter 6 is actually at the base of the mountain under the city. So we now get to explore all of the old mechanics, but with a double jump, or with a double dash. And so we are now moving on, and so now we're in the old site section. We're also going to see a lot of key blots, honestly, throughout this. And here we're going to see a lot of momentum usage because we're in the old site. And being through the old site section just fine. Oh, and unfortunately, I'm having a little bit of issue with the Battle Line fight and Chapter 6 in general. From onerandompaul. Chapter 6 is really hard. I mean, it's obviously harder than the other chapters. Unless you are really bad at Chapter 5, like a lot of people are. Oh, unfortunately, jumps right into there. You're also going to see stream block uses a little bit more here. And yeah, so here we go. We're done with Chapter 2's revisit. Now we're on Chapter 3. The Oshiro fight. Or not the Oshiro fight. I don't think we fight Oshiro again, thankfully. But we do have to deal with the Dust Bunnies. But thanks to double dashes and jump dashes, crouch dashes, all those fun things, we are good to go through this. Like, we just basically skip a lot of the platforms. Who needs the platform when you can just go really fast in the air? And GG on the Battle Line finish. Now we're on to Chapter 7 for onerandompaul. I think we collect like 2 berries in the run, by the way. If you were always interested, like, I think that optimally you actually get 2 berries because you pass by like faster rooms that end up having berries on the way. So 9 sins are faster, even if you have to collect something. onerandompaul dominated the Chapter 6 revisit, and now on the Chapter 1 we revisit. But meanwhile, Salad is on the Chapter 4 revisit. And again, another auto-scroller. But he is going to skip most of it. I saw doing a great job. But yeah, Chapter 6, or Chapter 4, unfortunately, kind of an auto-scroller, like, sections. Like, casually, you just wait for a lot of blocks and dodge, like, spikes as they come at you. Reminded me a lot of certain parts of fan games, honestly, where you're forced to move along a small platform. Now, if you are ever interested and you're thinking, man, this platform looks really good, but man, I want a challenge but with these mechanics. Well, don't worry. The game actually provides that to you in B and C sides. I always like to harken the B sides to like the difficulty of like the Grandmaster Galaxies and the Darker Side of the Moon in like the Mario games. But the C sides are honestly Kaizo Mario levels of like difficulty. Yeah, Solid is making a really good pace after a pretty rocky early game. Is he going to get... Yeah, he gets T-Stip. One of the bigger time saves. Ooh. One random Paul in the resort revisit. And going through here, one random Paul, making his way through. I honestly think the chapter 3 and then the chapter 3 portion of chapter 7 is the hardest part of the game by far. And we are in the summit, which is the final section for iSolid. Instead of screens being checkpoints, these flades are checkpoints with the occasional screen transition from the battle line combo jump things. I don't know what to call those. I never do. Ooh, unfortunate death in the wind section. Go into the net screen to try to get a little bit of additional speed. It is actually just faster to go back. Okay, and we are at Flade 16, it looks like. This part here of Chapter 7, the final part, is really interesting with the wind, like, going in vertical directions is actually quite interesting, reducing your fall speed. Oh, stipping that Flade there. Not super risky, but stipping 5 has led to some interesting deaths. iSolid might PB. iSolid might PB unless something changed. And there it is. And we've got One Random Paul, who might also PB, unless the PBs are inaccurate on Speed Game, on SG. But I think that's a PB from iSalad. I'd have to ask. We're hopefully bringing in my man Salad. Salad would like everybody to know that he is very, very happy that he got his first 36 in a tournament race. And but will not be joining us for an interview. Oh, audio was dead. Sorry, I had to respond to something very quickly. That's why I was quiet. But I'm glad to hear that your audio is back too. But we're going to get a double PB here, I think. I just like to point out, like, again, PBs feel so good in this game because you know it was like, you know you didn't get a PB because, like, Dampé decided to not give you 36 Dampies or whatever he does. We're right up along the end here. 3 skip from... I think that's 3. That was 2, I'm pretty sure. And then I think we're going to get... Oh no, I think we're still in the 10s. Yeah, there's 5. Whoops. Yes, Salad would like you to know. Also, can I just say that the little noise that the flag makes when you hit it is like the best sound ever? Yeah. I think I was going right into another run? GG. Double PB! Both runners very happy in chat right now. In our little stream chat. So congratulations both runners getting a PB. Paul getting a 41. That is not a bad time at all. Oh, that was a really good race. I am really glad. One Random Paul was so close throughout the whole thing. ILPB on Summit. Well, congratulations, Paul, on the PB, and honestly, very, very good showing.
Whew. That was a really rough reflection, though.
Oh, I was about to ask: is Reflection generally your worst chapter?
It is definitely my worst chapter. Like, I actually, before this entire tournament started, I have not practiced either Summit or Reflection. So my PB at the time was like around the same pace up until Reflection, and then it takes me like 40 minutes to do both Reflection and Summit.
Yeah, and Reflection is really hard if you're on keyboard because there's a lot of like angles that you have to like land that aren't like on the 8-axis because those things don't control the way that you think they would.
It's honestly, yeah, it's like I knew coming into like speedrunning Celeste that the feathers, like the feather tech, does have the analog stick or the it's a bit more difficult with just the D-pad or the keyboard, but I kind of decided, hey, why not? I'll just stick with keyboard because I'm much more comfortable with keyboard actually.
Yeah.
So
honestly, like once you got out of the chapter 6 and the 0 meters, your run was like really good at the end. And, like everything up to that, honestly, up until I think you entered Reflections like within, I think you were only like 3 or 4 screens behind in Reflections.
I just looking at live splits here. I entered Reflection at 20:43. So 20 minutes and 43 seconds is when I entered Reflection, and it took me almost 9 minutes to get out.
Yeah, and the other thing is like, it was crazy because Salad had a like really bad start, and then PBs. So he has like really good splits to like compete against himself with, like his early, and he PB'd on Summit. It's like he just has to get a good early game, and then there he goes, 36s from now on.
It's incredible. He got like, what was his final time? 36 something?
36, 57. His first 36 ever.
Sub 37.
Yeah, and that like, I mean, and now you're at 41. Like that jumps you into the top 100.
It does.
I'm pretty sure.
Actually,
So,
I think.
I'm pretty sure it actually launches you in there. Like it's about the 40-ish. It's like about 42, 43, where like the times start to get bunched up a little bit more. It's really like the 40, like 35 to 40 is probably the most competitive time right now.
Like
that's where I think the glut of the runners in the tournament sit is around there.
It's only about like 20 seconds between runners at that point. Like, yeah. But before that, it's like 5 minutes.
And then TGH is in at 31 while nobody else is touching him. But
he's in a whole different category apart from everyone else at this point.
I mean, he landed like a 32, like a low 32 in a tournament race. He's just practices a lot. That's what you get. Like I mentioned in here, like, and I'm wondering as a runner if you feel this way, if like, because there's zero RNG in this game, if you feel like that makes it easier to practice because you know that all the time you put in, like you're not gonna have a run get thrown away because the dust bunny moved left instead of right. Like you know where the dust bunny is gonna be every time you enter the room if you do it right, or you know the wind will move at it when you enter the room and it will stop when you hit this point if you move the same way.
It really is one of my. It really is like one of my favorite things about Celeste is that the lack of RNG makes it so that runs and speed runs are completely skill based and no luck based. So it's all about how you're moving and how well you input your commands. And I think the developers did have they built Celeste with speedrunning in mind, and they made the conscious decision not to put any RNG into the game, which makes it really fun speed game.
Honestly, if you I think it's said a lot in these commentary streams, but it's seriously the 2 runs of Celeste at GDQ, the race between TGH and Yoshi Pro, and the task are 2 very good. The race has developer commentary from Kevin and Matt, and the task is just really cool to see how far this game can go. Yeah, like the task is, for an example, the task is 25 minutes long. So A, you have the time to watch that. B, it's 25 minutes long. You just watched you just watched 2 really fast runs at 35. The world record's only at 31. come on, you have to go find out how it's 6 minutes faster. And I mean, a lot of that is that Celeste is so technical that it's going to be very difficult to get down, that it's hard to get the times down. But yeah, thank you so much for like the really exciting race. Like, it was really good. Like, and obviously we've already gone over Jefferson's not your strong point.
Nope.
It's not the strong point of any keyboard player, but it is going to be. This is a great tournament. I'm glad to see everybody grow, and the community is going to grow over time. Like, hopefully there will be more competition at the very low end. Like, right now we're at like 10 people who are all like could beat each other. So, and these group stages, honestly, people are improving very quickly if they put the time in. So
a lot
we should
of
be having more
PBs
matches later.
Yeah.
Do keep an eye on this channel. This channel will be used for a lot of Celeste this weekend because the channel and tournament is popular. So hey, spread the love and come down here. Make sure that you let your friends know who are watching this that Speed Demon Sits exists. And thank you very much, iSalad and onerandompaul, for racing with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Good luck in your other 3 and 6 5 matches respectively.
It's a little weird right now.
Yeah, which is fine. You guys have the 5 weeks. So we'll be leaving now. Have a wonderful day. Love and come down here. Make sure that you let your friends know who are watching this that Speed Demon Sits exists. And thank you very much, iSalad and onerandompaul, for racing with us today. Good luck in your other 3 and 6 5 matches respectively. You have 5 left, and yeah, which is fine. You guys have the 5 weeks. So we'll be leaving now. Have a wonderful day.